If we've heard it once, we've heard it a dozen times, that no one is using coal and that everyone is turning to renewable power sources because we're told they're now the cheapest way to generate electricity. Well, the green zealots and climate cult true believers can repeat that all they like, but the facts don't fit the theory, as is so often the case with anything to do with climate change. The International Energy Agency, which is the authoritative body on these matters, has just released new figures showing that coal use is continuing to rise and that Australian coal exports are forecast to continue to grow. We're told constantly, aren't we, that the science matters in this debate. So here are the facts. Since 2000, far from diminishing or even stagnating, global coal use has soared by 75%. That's right, it's come close to doubling. And last year, in global terms, it increased again. And while sure, coal use is declining in Europe and North America, mainly because of nuclear power and shale energy respectively, surging demand for coal in Asia will keep driving coal consumption up. According to the International Energy Agency, coal has displaced iron ore as Australia's single biggest export. And Australia's exports of thermal coal, that's the coal used for generating electricity, will increase by 10% over the next 5 years, while Australia's exports of coking coal, that's the coal used for making steel, that'll also grow by 10% as well. In 2017, coal generated 36% of the world's electricity. In 2018, coal generated 38% of the world's electricity. And in 5 years' time, notwithstanding all the policies designed to encourage renewables, coal is expected to still generate 35% of the world's electricity. And of course, usage by then will have gone up very considerably in that time. So much for all the anti-coal green propaganda. It simply doesn't match what's happening in the real world, where countries that want to give their people affordable, reliable power are using more coal, not less, but increasingly burning it in super efficient power stations that produce up to 40% less emissions than the power stations here in Australia. But never mind the facts. Climate doomsayers never give up. The Greens, well, they were at it again today, claiming that, I kid you not, coal will kill us, and that higher coal exports, rather than being good for jobs and prosperity in this country, were, quote, a death sentence for Australia. And always looking for a good propaganda opportunity, it's emerged that a man who said it would never rain again in Australia back in 2007, activist-in-chief Tim Flannery, well, he's been recruiting former fire chiefs as part of his new campaign to demand more action on climate change. Now, I can understand exhausted fireys combating the worst fire season in New South Wales for many decades, feeling that something must have changed. Greg Mullins, for instance, the former New South Wales Fire and Rescue Commissioner, now an RFS Deputy Captain, he's been on the front line for months. But any idea that closing down coal-fired power stations will somehow stop bushfires caused by lightning strikes and arson is just crackers. It's human nature to think that today's problems are the worst ever, because memories are short and these days our sense of chronological history is poor. The fact remains that the Black Thursday bushfires in Victoria, way back in 1851, destroyed about double the area so far burnt out this year in New South Wales. And it's hard to see what role mankind's carbon dioxide emissions played then. So let's hope for rain, because that Australian perennial drought is the real culprit here, along with the Greens on local councils putting the kibosh on hazard reduction burns. And let's all of us give our fireys our support, regardless of their views on climate change. But let's not think that the world is about to burn less coal anytime soon, or that burning less coal is going to put out the fires. Tougher penalties for arsonists, more preventative burns, reopening fire tracks in national parks and adequate funding for for our volunteer fire brigades are what make the difference, not commitments in Paris that only mugs like us bother to keep. One small mercy. Thank God we're not trying to operate Bill Shorten's electric fire trucks in the middle of this bushfire emergency. That really would be the last straw.